Guard of Honour prepares for Boris Johnson's arrival in Kyiv today. Number 10 casting the Prime Minister as world leader. Some suspicion on Ukrainian TV about his motives, dropping in when he has such troubles at home. The presenter asks, do we have common interests with Britain, or are they just using us for their own interests? The studio pundit answers, what is our choice? This evening at a press conference with the Ukrainian president, the Prime Minister was reminded how he postponed a phone call with President Putin yesterday so he could lobby his own MPs to keep him in office.
Prime Minister, you stressed the need for dialogue with Russia, but the crisis in number 10 caused you to delay or even cancel your talks with Vladimir Putin yesterday. Will you help draw a line underneath the saga by committing to publish the full grey inquiry, including any of the 300-plus pictures she might submit?
Of course we'll publish everything that we can as soon as the process has been completed, as I said yesterday. And on your point about Vladimir Putin, and I think somebody asked a question earlier, I'll be talking to President Putin tomorrow.
Earlier, the head of the UK military had warned cabinet ministers that a Russian attack on Ukraine could spill into cyber attacks on UK interests and soaring energy prices. There was one new letter of no confidence in the Prime Minister publicly announced by a Tory MP today.
We can't just keep kicking the can down the road. It's a major distraction for governments when there's so many challenges to address. And the emails from my constituents keep coming in. They've lost trust and confidence in him.
One of his colleagues publicly withdrew his letter of no confidence. Only the backbench 1922 committee chairman knows how close the total is to the 54 threshold needed for a vote of no confidence, but it's not there yet.
Is there an element of cowardice about this amongst some of your colleagues, not putting in the letters when they tell other people privately they want him gone?
If I'm going to call somebody a coward, I'll do it to their face, not be as it were behind their back.
But they're hoping someone else will do the dirty work, maybe.
Oh, there's a free rider issue in this, undoubtedly some of that. But that's always true. That's my point about the previous times we've had the death of 1,000
It drags out.
That's the mechanism that drags it out. And the longer it goes, the worse it is, you know.
And we could be looking at this for not just months,
well,
a year,
more. I don't think it's years, plural, because I think there's a dynamic in it. But I think it could be a year, you know, and that will be agony. That will be agony.
One who's worked closely with Boris Johnson for several years thought in yesterday's common statement he saw a man in turmoil.
You know him. What would have been going through Boris Johnson's mind as he sat through that extraordinary session in the Commons?
Well, I think this is part of the problem. Everything will be going through his mind. There'll be a sense of how dare they? There'll be a sense of, you know, why are they doing this to me? There'll be a sense of, oh God, it's all my fault. I can see where they're coming from. And I think that there's a whole juxtaposition in his mind. There's a tumble of emotions going on. And I think you can see that in his performance. He looks frustrated, he looks angry, he looks overly aggressive.
He spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile, as far as I can make out.
The country is watching him, right? And that tone will set whether he survives, because people will tell their MPs, sorry, the game's up.
A British colonel deployed to Ukraine on a training mission briefed the Prime Minister in Kyiv. Boris Johnson flies home tonight.
You'll remember yesterday we were talking about how Tory MPs had tried to push the government into a position, some of them, where the government committed to publishing the Sue Gray investigation findings in full after the police investigation is out of the way. After a few hours, the government conceded that. And today we had a slight echo of that. Again, the government didn't want to publicly commit in advance to the idea that it would tell the British nation if the Prime Minister had a fixed penalty notice slapped on him by the police investigation because of lockdown breaches. But within a few hours, they were pretty much conceding that they would have to say if that happened. And that's rather typical of the position you find yourself in as a government when you're in a very uncomfortable period like this. And the government will be hoping to get itself back on the front foot, talking about issues like Ukraine, levelling up tomorrow. But the drip of letters and discontent on the Tory backbenches has not stopped. And that name, Peter Aldous, the MP you saw in the report there, he was on the radar of the party as someone who was a bit unhappy, but an awful lot of MPs are. He wasn't expected to come out with a big public moment like this, and I think that will make the whips go back and check over some of their lists.
Gary, thanks very much.